We stopped the factories, but we haven't stopped the idea. That line wasn't cinematic. It was a sober briefing takeaway. A senior secretary's office allegedly served as the gateway to a corporate-like engine. Manufacturing, security, finance, distribution, mapped across states, tied to foreign nationals, and built to outlive any one person. If counterfeit currency can slip through small banks and casinos, the real casualty isn't a case file. It's trust in the dollar at the community level. How close did small-town America come to a cash confidence collapse, and what stops the next iteration? Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video.
Charged with trafficking cocaine, Lamar Cook was arraigned in Western Mass today. Investigators say they intercepted a delivery of drugs
where since 2023 he served as a liaison between Western Mass counties and Governor Healy. 5-year-old is accused of drug trafficking and illegal possession of a firearm. Investigators allege Cook had a package of cocaine.
How does a single office turn into an assembly line for fake cash and narcotics without sounding any alarms? Start with access. The senior secretary controlled the calendar, routed vendors, and handled documents that shaped who met whom and when. That position carried keys, codes, and clearance that looked routine on paper. It gave cover to schedule off-site meetings as vendor checks, push through last-minute badge authorizations for maintenance, and queue deliveries that never crossed a loading dock camera during business hours. The office didn't wave a flag. It nudged schedules, redirected signatures, and made the irregular look like a busy day. The paperwork told the story first. Routine invoices began pointing toward shell vendors that matched legitimate categories but sat at odd addresses. Freight bills lined up with fruit distributors in one state, while the receiving warehouses sat 2 states away under different corporate names. Deliveries landed after hours. Payment terms echoed the same language, as if someone copied a template and changed only the totals. Overnight courier slips moved packets labeled compliance updates to locker-style drop sites. Travel approvals for facility assessments matched GPS pings from phones that never entered government buildings, but did linger near private bays behind nondescript cinder block walls. Then the people chain clicked in. Travel logs tied staff to non-government facilities. Night shift work became common under the label of system migrations. Security badges that should have locked out after 7 p.m. granted entry at 1 a.m. Scans stacked up in clusters, showing short stays in secured storage, then exits to side streets that linked directly to freight corridors. The pattern looked like routine over time, until the timestamps overlapped with trucking dispatches that ran too clean to be random. Brief entries, controlled lights, and no camera anomalies suggested someone understood the blind spots and timed movements to sit inside them.
Undercover police delivered the package. This drug delivery was one of 3 the state police connected to Cook.
Accepted a package or have a package sent to him that contained over 7 kilograms of cocaine.
Now, the police reports include surveillance photos allegedly of Cook receiving packages with drugs on 2 occasions at
Shell companies survived scrutiny because they matched what auditors expect to see at a glance. They had employer identification numbers, basic websites with correct industry codes, and purchase orders that matched approved categories. Their bank accounts sat at institutions that service small vendors. The paperwork was compliant at the surface level. No misspellings, no sloppy logos, no mismatched addresses. They passed the first pass because the first pass checks form, not behavior. The network leaned on that, turning conformity into camouflage. One carrier showed how the road piece worked. A trucking firm with a legitimate DOT registration ran mixed loads. The manifest listed lettuce, citrus, and dry goods bound for distribution centers. The truck weighed close to spec, passed scale houses, and kept logs within hours of service rules. Inside the trailer, false walls hid a narrow cavity fitted with magnetic latches behind insulated panels. Produce took the front third. The rear access door opened only after a pressure sequence on the ramp. On paper, it was produce. In practice, it was blended freight engineered for short offloads in dark bays. Each function stood alone with plausible work. Manufacturing sites looked like commercial print shops with standard offset presses. Security teams handled visitor vetting and overnight maintenance checks. Finance followed payment policies and matched invoices to purchase orders. Distribution tracked vendor deliveries against expected windows. Viewed separately, nothing demanded a seizure. Only the pattern revealed the organism, the timing, the phrasing, the repeat names.
In Amherst, where he once managed, the DA's office says police seized 21 kilograms of suspected cocaine.
Ben, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll says Lamar Cook was fired as soon as the governor's office learned about his arrest yesterday. Governor's Western Mass office since 2023. Records show he made about $114,000 in that role last year.
Auditors finally heard the cadence. The same 3 approvers closed files that shared identical line item phrasing across different vendors. Payments settled within minutes of each other from fronts that never invoiced on the same day before. The rhythm gave the system away. Money moved in synchronized bursts. Vendors shipped on aligned nights, and door logs pulsed in step with trucking departures. The desk wasn't the architect. It was the gateway that normalized access, masked movement, and stitched departments together so the machine could run inside the building's rules. If a desk can open doors, the currency those doors move can crack the floor under small-town banks. Next, the money mechanics. If a gas station deposits counterfeit cash and the local bank eats the loss, what happens when that pattern hits a dozen towns at once? The short answer is speed. Counterfeit doesn't creep. It rides the daily cash runs. Retail tills skim through bills during shift changes, seal them in deposit bags, and drop them in night safes. Money service businesses move even faster. Check cashers, wire counters, and bill pay windows push mixed notes into bank vaults by late afternoon.
Governor's office. We caught up with the Lieutenant Governor at the State House today, who sang Cook's praises 2 years ago when he was hired.
The drugs were literally delivered to the governor's office in Western Mass. It's mind-boggling how this could happen.
I was a year working for Governor Maura Healey, but apparently that government paycheck, it just wasn't cutting it.
Casino cages sit at the center of heavy cash flow. They swap chips for currency and funnel bulk deposits through armored carriers that batch process bills before sunrise. By the time the first counterfeit flag trips at a counting machine, the earlier deposits have already merged into pooled balances. Small banks handle intake with tellers, back office verification, and recon windows that balance totals against customer deposits. When counterfeit bypasses a note reader at the counter, it gets another pass in the vault with higher grade machines. Miss again, and it clears into a correspondent account after the bank aggregates cash and credits it to reserve targets. The reconciliation cycle then chases the ghost. Credits post to merchant accounts, withdrawals fund payroll, and the fake notes surface days later when a Federal Reserve check calls them out. The loss snaps back to the originating bank, not the merchant, unless the bank can claw it back. Most can't without alienating customers they need. Those losses don't end with the face value. Community banks carry more cash relative to assets, so they increase liquidity cushions to absorb surprises. More buffer means less lending. Fraud control budgets rise. Branches add second-pass scanners, more staff hours, and enhanced training. Each step drags margins. In towns where one factory drives paychecks and the feed store runs on credit lines, any pullback hits real life quickly. Detection rates depend on machine settings, staff experience, and the quality of the notes. Counterfeiters learn the thresholds that older readers accept. They blend higher-grade fakes into bundles of worn bills, exploiting human bias that treats used cash as safe. Community banks report strain when counterfeit clusters surge because every flagged bundle triggers paperwork, possible law enforcement contact, and vendor disputes that freeze accounts while investigators sort responsibility. One region felt the chain reaction over 6 weeks. Counterfeit bypassed point-of-sale checks at convenience stores, diners, and farm stands. Chargebacks rolled in when the bank's reconciliations failed. Insurance carriers delayed coverage pending proof of compliance with cash handling procedures. Vendors started to demand prepayment or card-only terms. Delivery drivers refused drop-offs after 2 businesses bounced payments in the same week. The town's cash culture took a hit, and card fees began to clip thin margins. When trust drops, cash velocity slows. Merchants lock cash drawers, refuse large bills, and set purchase minimums for cards. Transaction fees rise, and settlement delays push payroll timing. Local lenders respond by tightening underwriting and cutting back seasonal lines. Borrowers who depend on quick access for inventory or repairs get pushed to higher-cost alternatives. The slowdown feeds on itself. Drug sales add another gear. Street-level transactions swap counterfeit into circulation and pull out clean change. Dealers unload dirty notes in busy weekend streams, then cash out at MSBS, where volume hides the mix. The churn keeps the fakes moving without tripping on a single counter's pattern. Forensic audits finally break the fog. Analysts map serial clusters, deposit timestamps, and armored carrier routes. The clusters line up with shell vendor payouts and scheduled truck runs across county lines. The $1 million in fake value becomes $30 million in real-world harm when confidence sags, fraud controls expand, and credit tightens across the network. Shutting presses won't hold. The response has to live as infrastructure, permanent teams, shared data, and hardened intake, because one-night raids don't stop a system that learns on the fly. Next episode, we track serial number fingerprints that traced printing plates to Main Street tills and why one missing digit tightened the noose.